Alright guys, welcome to episode 4 of the Life of Cortez podcast, and I'm brought here today with my special guest, Bethany Parker.
Hello everyone.
Welcome to the Life of Cortez. How have you been so far?
Not bad. Good setup in the room here. I guess it beats the bedroom setup.
It does beat the bedroom setup, and thank you to your parents for letting us use their office.
That's right.
So big ups to them. Now today we're going to be talking about a few things actually, mainly around how we first met, the start of Output, a few business things, and a few fun things on the way.
Yep.
But you've been recently an NBA fan.
Very recently.
Very recently.
Yeah.
How's your experience watching the NBA so far?
It's good. It got to the point in the finals this year. Raz and I would have our work meetings at Lone Pine and we'd watch the NBA finals. Definitely talking about business though. We'll put our merch samples in there and discussing all that.
You're like one eye at each other and then one eye at the game at the same time.
I think we know to look away and watch the game but continue talking because I'm already a wanderer when I talk. So like I'll look away and keep focus anyway. But yeah, no, just recently, just because my two best mates have always been into basketball, I never knew what they were talking about, and then started watching some highlights, started watching some clips, and then rolled into podcasts, rolled into just trying to wrap my head around the whole sport, and here we are now.
Do you have a favorite team yet?
No. I was told to pick a up-and-coming player and support that team, but then I didn't want to glaze Wemby, so I am sticking with the notion of no team is the best team. And just picking per game.
Yeah, I also think that's just less heartbreak as well.
Yeah, I've seen you go through it with the Bucks and the Lakers.
You've seen it
and Zach.
Probably with everyone that you've known.
Yeah, and Angus with the Knicks. Yeah. Shout out Angus, Knicks fan.
It's just bad.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of NBA, we're going to be doing a blind ranking. How it works is I'm going to give you random players, and I'm going to give you 6 random players, and you're just going to have to blind rank where they would rank in terms of good to worst or whatever your criteria
is. On my surface level of knowledge.
It's okay. All right, so we're going to start off at number 1, or the first, is Ben Simmons.
6.
6? Oh, why 6? Is it because he's always injured?
The highest paid player to never play a game. That's what it is, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the award that he has.
Yeah, he's
number 1 overall, highest played, never played a game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, number 6, we have Ben Simmons. All right, number 2 is going to be Jalen Brunson.
Just for loyalty to Angus, I'm going to put him at 2. Just because I think loyalty-wise, he carried that team on his back.
He did a good job this year.
And Angus would kill me if I put him any lower.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
He would be like, no way.
Yeah, no. Angus is pretty mad about that already.
Okay, at number 3, we have Kyrie Irving.
See, like, I'm not a fan long enough for me to be like, 2016 Kyrie, like that era. So I'm going to put him at like 4 because I know that there's some history there, but also he got carried by LeBron.
Oh, carried by LeBron? Maybe. Maybe. It was 50-50. I reckon that 2016 year was a pretty good effort from both of them.
Yeah. Like, again, I wasn't present at that time, so I can only go off the impressions of that, and even now it's like
even now he's a bit
he did nothing in the playoffs.
I agree. He's been kind of whatever the last few years. All right, 4th we have Victor Wembanyama.
3. So I got 5 and 1 left. I mean, like he although his team came last in the seed, the only reason they won was because of him. Like any games.
That's true.
Like his team is useless.
His team was I don't think they were expecting a really good year.
Maybe Chris Paul will help, but
I think a Chris Paul would definitely help.
Yeah.
They might not win more games, but I think just more senior leadership will help.
I think I got to put him above Kyrie mainly for like longevity and potential from this point as well. Like at least in my enjoyment of the game, I'm going to see more out of Wemby than Kyrie.
Kyrie's probably going to hang up the jersey soon anyways.
Yeah. And he's got a history, good on him, but for now Wemby's going to be a bit higher.
He's an alien.
Yeah.
All right. At number 6, we have LaMelo Ball.
Oh, that's got to be 5 then. So
they have 5 left.
Yeah. So no, I have 1 available. Isn't there 6 players?
Okay. Yeah, there is 6 players.
Oh no, who have I left at 1?
No, it was actually a good pick at 1. You left Giannis at 1.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Okay, so at number 1 you have Giannis. Number 2 was
I had Jalen
Brunson.
Then 3 Wemby, 4 Kyrie, 5 LaMelo, 6 Ben Simmons. That's a perfect list.
Damn, you actually aced it.
Yeah.
I actually thought you would rank it poorly, but
no. If you put Ben Simmons at 6, you can win the list.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I put it at number 1.
Yeah, I think if I was going off the season that I actually watched, I would have probably put Brunson above Giannis if I'd heard that first. But
that's still a really good list.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna tank it, but
no, I cleaned it up.
no,
Maybe I just have like a glazed perspective from YouTube clips being like, "Ooh, these people are the best." That's all I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now moving on. We've known each other for like what, 5 years now?
Yeah, it would have been 2019.
2019.
Yeah. Or did you join Black Flag 28? No, because I only started working there in 19. Yeah.
End of 2019.
Yeah.
That's when I first joined Black Flag, I guess. And then I first met you at a barbell UTS comp.
Yeah.
You're actually wearing a K-Bui shirt.
Yeah, barbell crew.
Yeah, and I was just like, it was like a novice university comp, right?
Yeah, it was the original battle of the universities. So they had
OG one.
UTS, they had UCID, they had UNSW. I don't think
that's
they had Macquarie at that
didn't have
point.
Macquarie,
Yeah, I think it was just the Sydney unis.
Yeah.
And my very good friend Dan Lim, who at the time I wasn't coaching, but I was just helping out and like trialing some stuff on with him. And he was like, "Oh, I've heard there's this kid running his mouth about wanting to, cruise and take it easy, but still win." And I was like, "I'll come watch you anyway. Like, it'll be fun for me." Because at this point, I was out of powerlifting for 2 years. Like, I'd seen Worlds comp, and then I go into this dungeon at UCID.
Yeah. Like, there wasn't even a combo rack. Like, people were manually changing.
It was a power rack.
Yeah.
It was in a power rack at a competition that people had to, like, lift the bar up and change everything.
And change the hook. And I think a few spotters actually hurt themselves doing that.
Yeah, the floor was so slippery as well, like for bench.
Yeah.
That's what you'll say when you say that Dan beat you. But long story short, we went in there and it came down to like Dan's final pull, which was horrendous. I have a video. I'll send it to you to clip it. This is the video. And you're in the background.
I'm just like, whoa, what the heck?
It was so bad, like the biggest dog taking a shit speck. But he got the lift and he beat you.
Yeah, he did.
Which he was happy about. And I remember because I didn't know at the time who you were.
Yeah.
I just knew that you were the kid running the mouth. And then Dan was like, "Oh, this is the kid that we're trying to beat." And I was like, "You look like the most innocent person ever. You're just chilling."
Yeah, and I was like 2 weeks out from nationals anyways.
Yeah, see, that was on you for even doing that comp because that's fucking dumb.
Yeah, but I still had a decent nationals, but like I think my plan was just to hit like a chill SPD day.
Yeah.
For fun.
Yeah.
Because I was programming and coaching
that's literally
myself.
what you said. Like you were saying that, but then Dan took it.
Yeah, he took it. I think he took it a bit personally, but like...
Yeah, well, Dan took it as a competitor.
Yeah,
we
fair enough.
would both take it that way
100%.
if someone was saying anything like that.
And I think us two, at the time, we were probably the strongest in terms of
Yeah.
our universities.
There was like a couple of cracked deadlifters at that comp, I remember. There was a couple
Yeah,
of
for
people
sure.
pulling. I think Dan's pull was like 245.
Yeah. At that time, that was actually really good.
Yeah.
It's like 70-something body weight.
Yeah, he was like low 70s at that point, like 72. Yeah, no, there was a couple of like cracked individual lifters for sure, but it was between you and Dan at that point.
Yeah. And yeah, that was the first time I met Beth. She was just staunching, and I'm like, bro, who's this chick, bro? Like, she's just so jacked. I'm
It
like,
says staunching. I was like 75 kilos.
nah,
I
you
was
look
not
like
lifting.
a proper enforcer during that time. I was like, bro, what the heck?
Yeah.
I'm just like a little sub-junior kid. I'm like, who are these people?
Yeah.
So that was the first time I actually met Beth. And then we later joined on for Black Flag.
Yep.
When she was coaching.
Were you there before I started coaching? You came in for casual visits, but you came after.
Yeah, I came in after. I think during 2020, like that COVID year is when
Yeah.
I fully started going to Black Flag like full time.
Yeah.
Making the trip out from Rudy Hill all the way to Castle Hill.
That seems funny now because you just travel so far anyway for the gym.
Yeah, I still travel far for the gym anyways, but
Yeah.
you got to do what you got to do. Yeah, those were really fun times actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially those Wednesday sessions.
Yeah, Wednesdays were the crack days.
Yeah, that's when like you had some funny people. Like it's Monday, Tuesday people. Like normally people would train 4 days a week, and then Monday, Tuesday, and then Thursday, Friday, or Thursday, Saturday.
Yeah, so at the time it was like we had 3 coaches. I was left unsupervised on a Wednesday, so they finally like trusted me to just like look after all the clients on the floor. Obviously, the other coaches need a night off. I remember, I think Vince was there halfway through till like 6 p.m. and then he would go home. So I was there for like 2 hours by myself. And also, like you said, like the people who were training 4 days a week, the typical Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday split, they're not there on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
So really only the proper crackheads who are either training 5 days or they take powerlifting seriously are coming in on an extra day.
Yeah.
So it was you, me, Zach, Angus would come in, Jack Warwick,
Warren.
Jack Chedwing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Warren. Carson, it was just a bunch of us, and we would just do dumb shit. Like, not in a bad way for any insurance policies watching, but, you know, Max Trap Shrug, like Trap Bar Shrug shrugs is like the most iconic one.
Yeah. And that was also my primary deadlift day as well.
Yeah.
So that was really fun.
You and Zach would just get up to absolute mischief, and I would just supervise and encourage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just be like, oh, let's just do it here so you don't hurt yourself. Or let's try this so you don't hurt yourself, but still obviously make you do something stupid.
Yeah, and Wednesday's still my favorite training day, actually, because there's actually less people, and yeah, it's usually one of your primaries.
Yeah, I think Wednesdays are mainly for the cracked people, so that doesn't really change no matter where you go. But yeah, Wednesdays was the bonding day, I think, for us, between just not being as like serious as a coach, and I think that's good to like let my guard down and like enjoy these activities and be part of it as well. And yeah, I think that was more like a bonding experience for us.
Yeah, I agree. And later on in that year, I actually joined Output as an athlete.
Yeah, that was shocking. I couldn't believe it, because I was like, why does this strong kid like want to work with me? I actually couldn't believe it. I thought for sure there would be like so many other options, and I knew how passionate you were about powerlifting at this point anyway. Like, this guy prepped all the way through COVID, which if anyone trained throughout COVID, imagine doing an actual prep and then competing like 4 weeks after the gyms opened. So, like, I'd never met anyone at that point who was as motivated. Like, I wasn't even motivated at that point, like, training-wise. And then I was like, fuck, like, what does this guy see in me? But then I realized that the reason that you probably came to me, or one of the reasons, was that I continued to coach throughout that time and learn throughout that time, so I didn't stop coaching. So it's obviously, like, two tides met at the same time with, like, didn't stop coaching, didn't stop training, and then...
Yeah, and I just came off a GPC meet at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually really fun times.
Yeah.
Doing a GPC meet. Still natty, but yeah, it was just different.
bendy bar fun.
Yeah, bendy bar fun.
That was another Wednesday vibe. It was
yeah, that was literally like
everyone on the deadlift bar.
Everyone learning how to use the deadlift bar. I didn't know how to use it. I actually got like destroyed on my first time using it.
Oh yeah.
I think I hurt my back, but overall it was a pretty fun experience. Yeah. I actually recommend it.
Yeah.
If you haven't tried or you feel bored of normal training. But yeah, I signed on to you as an athlete in 2020. Explain to you the viewers what the first program looked like.
Oh man. So let's just say at this point, like, I was full into corrective exercises. Like, my personal background of coaching, which I've spoken about 1,000 times on different podcasts, is I was injured, I got broken, I wanted to learn what could be avoided for next time and how it could help other people. So I'm headfirst into my startup, which is my corrective exercise, which was my passion at the time.
Yep.
And so, like, when I started with Raz, he had a really big hip shift, like huge, and it was like limiting his top end squat. You were stuck around 212, I remember, 210 to 212.
I still do.
And you used to helicopter on the deadlift really bad.
Yep.
And you had a dip. So all three lifts were being influenced by this tilt. And so pretty much identified it as like shoulders lacked external rotation, which is standard for someone who's never really looked at periodizing accessories properly.
Yep.
You had, I can't remember the exact parameters of the hip shift. It was definitely a top-down approach that we took from the shoulders and the obliques. So you're doing a lot of like core work and stuff.
Core work, hella core work.
But like, we're talking like a 5-day split. This guy was doing no SBD in 5 days, like no proper SBD.
He was SBD, yeah.
He was doing high bar. He was doing SSB. He was doing conventional trap bar, snatch grip RDLs. We did close grip bench press. We did block press for a bit just to aid the shoulder, which I backed that decision.
Yeah.
The funny part is that I think if I had spoken about this a couple of years ago, I would have been really insecure about writing that program. Yeah. And like, I wouldn't have spoken about it anywhere. And if I find screenshots of it, I would love for you to share it, because it's the most, like, if you look at it, it's a fucking train wreck to look at.
Yeah, it was a very interesting program. I'm like...
But how quickly did it fix everything?
It fixed everything very, very quickly, and that was probably the straightest I've probably moved.
Yeah.
Ever.
And honestly, like, when I look back at it, even like when we parted ways and like the injury flared up again, and before you found your way to David, a lot of the stuff David had given you had coincided with the old, like the very first split that we did and some of the exercises that we did, just without David even knowing. I think you showed him eventually, like, look at this crack shit. Like,
yeah, it was weird. It was like floor press at the time as well.
so much weird shit that in my mind, and I actually have a recording of it, because at the time he was interested in learning about coaching. So we went through and we sat down for a meeting on Zoom one day and we recorded the whole thing and we explained the program. Well, I explained it to him and we just kind of like recorded it and made sure that it really helped with our understanding at the time. And the science makes sense. It's not the most efficient way that I would have done things now, and I probably wouldn't do things exactly like that. But I could explain what drills were there, why it was there, to what rep range, how it was going to help you. And I think a lot of coaches wouldn't even be able to do that with current programs this day. So it's like I would never now be ashamed of something like that I've written, because I could tell you exactly why it was there, how it was going to help you, and it did help you.
Yeah, I think having the super crack buy-in as well.
Yeah.
Right, just when like I don't really know, like I don't really fully understand what's on my program, but it looks fun.
Yeah.
And it's helping me. So like I was just locked in pretty much every session.
I think also the timing worked out well, because any person that you brought in a good point, like the buy-in, like any person that I would have given that to now would just turned away from me. Like, why am I doing this? It's not even powerlifting. And I think because you did prep throughout COVID and you didn't have those crack sessions that everyone else had, and like you didn't take that step back, like you kind of enjoyed moving away from traditional frontal plane movements and just getting a bit more diversity in, which ended up being the thing to help you.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, like I think that buy-in would be the question mark that you'd see. And that's probably the only thing that I would change in hindsight out of that whole program. I would just be like, maybe make it so the buy-in was a little bit less reliant on you being burnt out from powerlifting.
Yeah. But still, I had a whole heap of fun. I think I was training twice a day at some points as well.
Yeah, it was cracked.
Like I'd split it between
work.
primary work and then accessories at like maximum effort.
Yeah.
But then I think we started running into some mad fatigue that.
Yeah, I remember once because we were running conventional and RDLs to the same intensity. So you're hitting like by the end of the block, RP9 both. Didn't you RDL like 220?
220, pulled conv, 250.
Yeah, and that was a double.
Yeah, at like 80 kilos.
Yeah.
Well.
And so when we hit those walls, it took ages for us to just get back on our feet. But this was, again, like Raz was probably the first higher profile client that I had in terms of someone who took it seriously. Like Dan Lim, he was a strong boy, but, you know, when push comes to shove, did he follow the program 100%? Probably not.
Yeah.
So Raz was like the first client that I had to like really not rely on trust. Like I knew I could trust him to do what was written on there, but I knew I also had a job to uphold his goals. And so it was a learning experience for both of us to trial these strategies out of like higher intensity volume, higher intensity everything, see what works for him. And his time spent on output, especially the introductory stage, it formed how I bring on new clients now, like massively. So like my assessment process, my starting from like less is more approach rather than more is less, which I learned from you. And so there's so much that I learned from the experience of bringing you on board that I now use every day, which is really insane to think about.
And speaking of your coaching experience, now to segue from that, what are some like key fundamental things that have been important to like your learning and understanding?
So again, like through firstly you as an experience, the less, starting with less and then building more. Yep. So like a lot of coaches come out like guns blazing, like give the client everything and then strip back. And I think for me, like I'd used that in the past with Raz, and you know, full accountability, it put him into the ground for so many years with his hamstring tendon. Yeah. Like it just didn't work. And, you know, we mutually agreed that you were on a chance Mitchell meta and you wanted to try this stuff out. And I didn't say no. And I was also going a bit more into the unknown with it. So I think that, like, again, a good learning experience for me, that my coaching style benefits from starting with less and adding more and identifying those indicators. Some coaches are really good at identifying the other way. Yep. I'm not. Like the fatigue indicators to me don't matter as much if someone is telling me that it's tired, like they're tired or it's hard, because I know that training should be hard. Yeah. And you should be tired.
Yeah, and you should be tired.
So for me, because that's just like my personality and how I view the world, I play into those biases and build things around the other way. So I start with less and then I wait for them to tell me once they reach that ceiling or once the blocks start to fall a little bit short. Like it's much easier for me to gauge that way. So that's kind of like the first thing, I guess, foundationally, like I start with for all clients. Like a huge influence obviously was just like the stacking model. Like I was a huge stack head. I still am. I guess that never really goes away, but you progress it from a 2D model to a 4D, 5D model.
I think it's just a decent place to start, right?
100%. Like just understanding the hips and the shoulders and the influence that everything in the middle has, whether it's skeletal or muscular, just understanding that, you know, abs are the thing stopping you from arching on the bench. It's something like trivial as that. It's like once you understand that bones can be mobile and bones can move in a certain direction and they just need time, like that for me was such a big, I guess, step into my buy-in and my personal buy-in with Performotion as well. So my own coaching, because they played on from that as well. But yeah, the stacking model was such a huge influence into my background. Like I was a big Zach Couples fan. I like did online courses with him. I listened to podcasts with him.
Connor Harris as well.
Yeah, Conor Harris was a bit later for me. So a bit more down to the biomechanics side, which I found was easier for me to understand after I could put a basic understanding of the skeletal system together.
Yeah, for sure.
I think musculature information is very overwhelming if you don't understand the positions and the biases of like the bones around them. So for me, like I think I like coincidentally just did it the right way. I learned about the bones first and then I pushed into the biomechanics side. But yeah, like I would say those are the two biggest factors for me, just understanding fatigue, which has helped me individualize my process for clients, no matter who comes across, whether they're powerlifting or just gen pop. And then also, yeah, the stacking model just constantly is like the starting point.
Yeah, and when Tom Haynes came out with like Powerlifting Cubed,
Yeah.
that was actually really important to my understanding, your understanding too.
Yeah, I mean, I was already getting coached by Tom at that point.
Yeah, so you already had the first-hand experience.
Yeah, so that was, I guess that's another thing that we should talk about with my coaching is that like the influence that Performotion has had is huge. Like moving to Tom Haynes initially was more of a rehab perspective because I still couldn't lift in 2019, 2020. I just wasn't lifting. I couldn't lift. I pretty much quit. I remember I was posting in the group chat, the one we had, was it I forget what it's called now. We made the shirts for them.
Damn.
Yeah, is that ABS?
ABF.
Yeah, ABF, there you go. I was posting like dumbbell press PRs. Like I was repping 35s at World Gym. Like I would just go into the gym and just mog the 35 kilo dumbbells. And like I was training upper body probably 4 times a week, lower body twice, a lot of machines. And I was doing like pretty much fuck all lower body because I couldn't like do any free weight stuff. And so that's why I went to Tom. And then working with Tom just kind of like reignited my ideas of like helping people. And then diving deeper down that rabbit hole, working with Kelly, and then, you know, refining my approach to powerlifting specifically rather than Tom was like very rehab orientated. Yeah. So yeah, that's another big influence into my coaching style as well.
Now you mentioned like you've learned from myself making the mistakes with me, like less is more.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you've sort of changed your approach on for coaching in the last few years?
I guess like stepping away from I'm trying to think how to phrase it. Stepping away from like the normal things that you think you need to start with, like rep ranges, like starting with typicals like 5s or like 8s or whatever. Like for me, I have a good eye for it right now of just kind of like looking at someone, looking how far the bar moves and just kind of making a more estimated guess.
Yeah.
So I don't really start with a standardized approach, if that makes sense. So I don't waste any time. Like for me, I'd much rather introduce someone into training and make an estimated guess and at least provide some sort of value to that rather than assuming that we just start with a baseline and then I modify from there. I think I waste the whole intro block if I would do that.
Yeah, for sure. And before you used to have this theory, I remember in 2021 where it's like the best rep range, especially for someone beginning, was the one that they can control.
Yeah.
Right? And do you still abide by that?
Yeah, I think the rep range that someone can still move through and efficiently with when you're starting off with someone is probably the best one. And like majority of the time when we onboard clients, we don't get clients who are like, 4 weeks out. Yeah. We have time to play around with things. So like, again, I don't put myself as a corrective coach. Like I'm definitely powerlifting specific, but I have fallen in line with people who come to me for corrective stuff.
Yep.
And it just so happens that becomes the priority for me. But yeah, I think also in that sense, that's where my ideas have changed as well. Sometimes I have to take my head out of that corrective space and just be like, okay, this person, we just need to focus on the big things here to make them move better. So we just need to obviously improve like a hinge or get stronger in a certain position or increase a range to get stronger, whatever it needs to be, rather than, putting them into all these corrective exercises for no reason. Because I think I found myself in that rabbit hole for a while. So just trying not to get caught up in that.
Yeah, if you look too far deep into like the whole rehab corrective side, like you probably won't get anywhere stronger.
Yeah.
Too much.
It's hard too because that's literally the reason why I started coaching. So I have to kind of sometimes abandon that passion that I have and realize that it's not always needed. And I did lose myself for a while in that for sure.
Yeah. And now to transition from that, let's talk a little bit about business. How did the whole Output brand kind of start?
So I have spoken about this story before. That essentially, I went to a music festival. It was like it's not like a festival. It was like a night event. It was a trance event. It had 3 international DJs. I just call them festivals.
Yeah, festies. Yeah.
Anything more than one DJ is a festival rather than a rave.
Yep.
And the brand was called Output, and literally that week at my Cert 3 and 4 course, they were like, start planning your hypothetical business. That's like the TAFE thing. It's like, if you were to name a business, what would you name it?
Yeah.
And, the term output came up a lot in TAFE because they're just using standard language.
Terminology,
yeah, it's just standard. It's like anything that you do is output. So like you just put that down. And it just kind of made sense at the time. I just did it. And then one of the assignments at TAFE is to actually make an Instagram.
Really?
Yeah. So it was like you have to make an Instagram because they just want you to commit to it. I think it's part of their strategy of being like, well, if we make the Instagram for them, maybe they'll commit to it. It looks good for us. So yeah, I made the Instagram. It was like Beth.output or whatever. And then I just kind of kept it. And by the time I'd already finished the Cert 3 and 4, I had a few clients like ready to go online. Like I was already coaching. I just had to make it official with the ABN and stuff. So yeah, just kept it because I was like, well, it makes sense. Like powerlifting is output. Like you're lifting weights, you're expressing strength, you're expressing like movement. It's output of the body. And I started with like the word vomit of like output strength systems, and then eventually over time like gone down to output because Madonna doesn't need a last name.
Yeah, a lot of strength systems out there.
Yeah, we let the kids have the strength system. They can build their brand like I have and be identified off one word. But yeah, no, it was just from that, which, I think a lot of people overthink it. And starting the brand as well was really overwhelming. And I've spoken to you about this. I've spoken to a few people.
Yeah.
I used to think like everything mattered about that first logo or that first name and everything like that. How many times have I changed the brand?
Change the logo, change the spreadsheets, change the font, change the colors.
And like if I knew all the way back then, I would have just not put so much importance on that decision and probably wouldn't have stressed as much because like now I look at it and I'm like, damn, I can do whatever the fuck I want. I can like literally change everything whenever I want to.
Yeah, and no one will ever bat an eye.
Yeah.
It's majoring in the minors at that point.
Yeah.
If you try hyper-focus onto it.
And I think that's part of it. Like you start with an idea. Same with coaching. You start with a blank sheet and then you make it more individual as time goes on.
Yep.
And so that's what the brand pretty much ended up being and making like rave gear and, whatever else I've done.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our brand is specifically on raving, but it just brings a lot of community together, would you say?
Yeah, I'd say like in itself, I was already quite kind of a pioneer of playing hardstyle in gyms. Like if you ask any old gym 100%. Owner in Sydney, I was the black sheep. Just
everyone used to hate it.
Yeah,
Black flag.
Yeah, so
I was the Wednesday crew liked it.
Yeah, that was another thing about Wednesday. We could play whatever.
You could play whatever, and no one would ever say anything.
Yeah, so I was kind of the black sheep in Sydney, like even back in my first gym days, like they didn't like it. And it just happened to be that a lot of the mates who I got to trial coaching on at the start were ravers. So they were just ravers, like interested in SBD. Like I can name a couple of guys, like Dom I started with, Ben I started with, like I even met Micah through raves, and like just so many people who were just in that scene were interested in trialing it out, and then they spoke to their friends, and then I got more clients from them, and then I met Macy and I met Rod, and like they spoke to their friends, and then like all these like OG output people were just ravers, like Bernie, like just so many people.
A lot.
Yeah.
The majority of them actually, yeah.
Yeah, so it was just more like you attract your people, and again, it's one of my external passions, like not just raving itself, like traveling for music. I've done it numerous times. I've put tens of thousands of dollars into traveling. I would say like over 50 grand into traveling for music.
Yeah. I mean, all those flights to Europe add up.
Yeah, the house deposit is gone, but it's something I'm extremely passionate about. Like music for me is such a big side of who I am. Like I'm like classically trained in piano. I've always, I did piano from when I was like 3 to when I was 10.
Can you still play? Like a little bit?
Probably not.
A little bit?
No. Probably no, I'm not gonna be like Zach Speck, jump on there, put them on my stories.
I haven't touched this in a while.
Yeah, Beethoven and C. No, I probably can't play anymore. Music in high school, I stupidly chose that as an elective thinking it'd be fun, and I think it put me off music for life. But yeah, no, like I've always enjoyed music. I've enjoyed like that side of things. So for me, when the community I had when I first started meant a lot to me because they were involved in something else that I really was passionate about, not just training.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I really found a connection with those people because we shared this passion, we shared this community. And I think that really built up, like, well, it fast-tracked how fastly the brand built up because, it was like, oh, these people are having fun. These people are, like, having, like, meetups and they put hardstyle in the gym and they, like, go get food after and whatever. Yeah. And yeah, it was just such a fun time when I was starting up, and I had a community to share in. And naturally, as you know, coaching goes on and time goes on, the brand diversifies, and you get a few other people. And you know, my whole brand and image wasn't like tied to raving. It was just a great start.
It was just very synonymous. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great start. So yeah, I think it just naturally kind of formed from there.
Yeah, we had like now the norm is like to play hard styles and go to raves. And
I honestly take credit for how normal it is for hard styles in gym. Like, I take full credit for it.
And it wasn't even long ago, like 2019, 2020, it was still like...
Yeah, it was still killing the name of fucking Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah. At every single powerlifting meet, but now it's like, all right, deadlift time. It's time to put on some Angry Fist.
I honestly, this might sound big-headed. I fucking take full credit for that shit in Australia. Like, there's a few Melbourne guys that could probably be on the same level, like Tarn Floggle Woggles.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, very few of us from 2016 onwards, like, because that's how long I've been powerlifting, 2015. Like, I was listening to hardstyle back then. I would put that shit on in the gym and people would hate it, and I didn't care. I actually loved when people hate it. I still do.
Yeah.
And yeah, I will take full credit for it, for the fact of how popular it is in gyms now. Like, just...
Yeah, now it's become the norm.
It's a pioneer spec.
And if it's like nothing else, it's kind of looked weird. Now, you talked a little bit about taking a little bit of a break from powerlifting. And you've also talked about like how you've taken some little mini side quests to Europe.
Yep.
You've had a few experiences with burnout. Would you like to describe what that was like and your little break from powerlifting? Breaks from powerlifting?
Yeah, so there's a few reasons I've had a few breaks. The first one was obviously just injury. So like that very first one, 2017, just couldn't walk, couldn't sit up, couldn't lay down, back was just fucked. And at the time, I just didn't have the resources. I didn't have the people around me who knew how to fix it. I was just being let down by people too many times. And I just said, like, that's it. I'm going to just rest. I'm going to quit. I literally put a post up. I was like, quit powerlifting, blah, blah, blah. And then that's when, like, I kind of spiraled a little bit, because I throughout school, I'd only done powerlifting. I didn't really apply for uni or anything like that. So I didn't have any backup plans. So just working in retail, and funnily enough, going to that first Europe trip that I went to was the reason that I started coaching, because I was kind of like, all right, I need to do something when I come back. And it was the easiest thing for me to do at the time, if I'm being honest. Like,
it was intuitive already. Like, you're ready at that point.
Oh, yeah. Like, I was always told, like, oh, you should coach, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're going to be a coach or whatever. And it annoys me because I just don't like being told what to do, but they were probably right. Yeah. I just don't like being told what to do. Yeah. So, yeah, I went away, came back, started coaching. And then throughout coaching, that kind of reignited me coming back to powerlifting. So it took like 3 years from 2019 to 2021 until I really got back. The platform was 2022, February, that one you coached me at.
Yeah, that's Central Coast.
Yeah, that got moved the day of because the gym flooded. Yeah.
The gym flooded. That was a weird experience.
Yeah, but like I just did that in secret. Like I didn't really tell anyone that I was coming back. But yeah, it was really like coaching that brought me back that first time. And I've gone into details of that first burnout a lot of times. If like you catch it on any other podcast, it's just essentially I was broken, I was injured. It's the same story as everyone else. I think the other burnouts that I experienced were a little bit different because they were a bit more mature in the sense of like, I'm older now, I have responsibilities. I'm not 18 and, you know, getting away with whatever I want to do. So the burnout that I had last year, and I went on a big 7-week Europe trip. And essentially I just like trained from 2021 all the way to 2023. And I'd gotten like back to like top 5 in Australia. And I was just like, fuck, I just need like a break. Like it wasn't a bad thing. I wasn't injured or anything like that. And like, you know, it was nothing to do with coaching. Like me and Kelly were great and we are great. It was just like, I just need like a break from powerlifting. And I think because I'd not recently, but like in my like lifting lifetime, I had breaks before and I did feel better. I wasn't really scared about going away in that time. But one thing that happened in that like 3 years was that like I had the rise and fall within business, which happens naturally. Once you start a business, everything's on the up. You get more clients, you get more exposure, you build your brand more. And then naturally that has to stop. Like you're eventually going to hit it. And like so many coaches hit it eventually sooner rather than later. You know, I'll put my hand up. Previously, I'd laughed at other coaches who had hit that wall. I'm like, I thought I was invincible. I didn't think it was going to happen to me. I thought my community was like really tight. I thought that I was a good leader. And yeah, I think because I thought all those things, it made the inevitable kind of like drop down harder because it just changed my reality on the situation. So for me, it was kind of like a really like emotional toll that taken on me. And I really wasn't sure if I was going to keep coaching or keep powerlifting as well because it was just like one client after another leaving and like they didn't, like some people like went to other coaches, like some people were honest, some people weren't. Like it's each to their own like preference on if they want to be responsible and tell me. The respect for them stays because they still shared an experience with me, and a lot of these guys were with me for a couple of years as well. So
Yeah, for sure.
it was just like the inevitable burnout from that was crazy. And it took me like, not just when I was away, like if like it definitely affected my holiday, which I hate to say, like, and it's not on any of the clients who left or any of the things that happened. It's just like naturally I was so passionate about business, and that kind of hit me pretty hard. So it affected my holiday, affected my outlook on things, and I had to come back. And Stefan, like my partner, he said to me, like, you can't let this identify, or like you can't let this be who you are. Like you can't like let people changing their mind about business affect you personally. Because it was at the point like I was doubting myself doing anything. Like I couldn't make a decision on anything. I couldn't post content. I couldn't do anything. I was just debilitated. I was like, oh, what if like more people leave me? Or what if people don't like this and they clap back? And it's like, I never cared about that before. And I was like, why am I only caring now? It's just because my shifts and my views on the whole experience had changed. And I think in overcoming that, I just had to trust that at the time, like, although I had like, there was like probably 5 or 6 people go all at once, like in like a 2-month span. I still had like 35 people at that time. I still like,
quite a bit.
And it sounds so selfish for me to say. And I remember a big thing for us was when I got back from that holiday, I ran like a feedback form, and I do kind of like a annual feedback form with my guys. I just like to get feedback on what's going on. And like, I was so worried when I went away. I felt guilty because I was like, well, like all this happened before I went away. And then now like everyone's going to leave me because I went on holiday, and like I shouldn't have left them. I should have just stayed, and like all this sort of stuff. And I filled out the form. And so many, like, I don't think there was one negative thing about me going away on holiday, because I was still working the whole time.
Yeah, your response times are still pretty good. Like,
you
let everyone know clearly, like, hey, I'm going to be, like, away for, like, X amount of time.
Yeah, like, I worked like a dog over there. Like, I was, if not anything, I guess it was a good thing that all the events happened before I went away, because I was motivated to, like, keep working at least at the bare minimum. But, yeah, it was, like, the responses were like, it was so nice to see someone like so young go and like, you know, have a business and work overseas or still enjoy themselves. And like all the team was just so supportive of everything. And I was like, fuck, I really just let like a couple of bad experiences just rail me into the ground right now. It was so bad. And it was really the team that I had that snapped me out of it. That was like, I need to look after these guys. These guys have goals too. I can't be like selfish and sitting here like, yeah, I can have my pity party for a bit. But I decided to use that time for a pity party overseas in Europe. I can't come back and continue that mindset and continue that shit, because they'll pick up on it. Like if there was some inconsistencies in coaching on like reply times or whatever when I was in Europe, they would know why. But like if I come back to a regular routine and I hold myself to a really high standard, like the guys know when I'm going to message them. They know when they're going to get their program updated. Like there is no when ifs or buts. If someone doesn't hear from me, they message me. They're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And so when I came back, I was like, right, I can go 2 ways here. I can just continue and probably drive everyone else away. And that's probably something that I would have done in the past. Or I can just like snap out of it and just focus on the guys that still trust me and still support me. And I obviously chose the latter, just like helping the guys that trusted me throughout that.
I think just from an external point of view as well, just being alongside you during that time, I think since you came back, that also made you like an overall better coach as well. And I think ever since then, you've confidently just been able to just go and have fun.
Yeah, I think I was really anxious before going away on that trip. That was the first time I'd worked away from home for that long. Like 7 weeks is a long time. And I realized, and I'm so glad I did that feedback when I came back, because if I didn't do it, I probably would have been in my head to this day about it. But now I realize that I need to separate who I am as a coach and who I am as a person. It's so important because, you know, clients are going to come and go. Like it's part of the sport. Like we don't own clients. Yeah. We like you train someone for them to either learn from you or like give up. Like essentially, like they'll move on to someone else because they think they provide more value, or they're done with the sport. That's the goal.
Yep.
And so once I kind of like got out of my head about that, and like you said, it was very freeing. Like I've gone on trips since then, and like even this year I went for 3 weeks and I still work the whole time there. I just make sure that I message the homies. I'm pretty responsible on the weekends nowadays.
Yeah. I think no one's complained so far, so it is doable.
Yeah.
And for you to just have that confidence to do it like over numerous times a year, is actually pretty amazing. And it's actually kind of cool.
It is hard though. Like, you know this as well. like we feel guilty taking a couple of days off. Like we both worked on Monday. It was a long weekend.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's so hard for us to take a day off or, you know, even take a week off because that's a whole week of the program or a week of someone's prep. Like everyone's prepping on different timelines. So like for us, scheduling time off is so hard. I think the last time I had a full 2-week like standard holiday, like someone that works 9 to 5 was 2022.
Yeah.
That was when I went to Supremacy.
Yeah, you went camping a few times where you went.
I don't really count like the, you know, I took Friday and Monday off, you know.
Yeah, fair enough.
But it's like the last time I had a full like 2 weeks off, like NA, I'm not talking to anyone, I'm not doing anything. That was like, September 2022. So like I literally haven't had like a week off.
You're pretty much working around the whole clock.
Yeah.
That's what your life is as a coach.
That's everyone's life as a coach. Like once you hit that, like, I guess into the 10s, into the 20s, but like when I talk to Kelly about like us having like 40, 50, 60, it's nuts. Like phone is just going off all the time. I'm constantly on do not disturb.
Yeah.
It has to be done. I'll check my phone when I'm ready. But yeah, no, if you're getting into coaching because you want to work for yourself and you want to have a lot of time off, that's not.
I think it's just all about setting boundaries as well.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'll respond from this time to this time.
Yeah. And we were really clear on that from the start. Like I was clear on that with my guys when you first started. Yeah. And I made sure that when we set you up, you were really clear on that too, because I didn't want you to go through some of the mistakes that I had made and I'd seen other coaches make too.
Yeah,
like
they're replying like 24 hours or like some people are expecting instant replies.
Yeah. And you're a lot more flexible than me. Like my phone is off from 9 p.m. and nowadays I'm waking up a bit later because I'm prepping in the afternoon. But usually I'm a morning person, so I'm at the gym at 7 a.m. So 9 till like 5 a.m. my phone would be off. Nowadays I'm a little bit later with it. But you're a little bit more loose with it, which is fine. I think like everyone, each to their own. And I've always encouraged you to kind of like treat it like your own business.
I'm not a morning person either.
Yeah, so like I'll message him like 7 a.m. It's nothing. No birds chirping. But I think that's where like each to their own. Like, and as long as you're clear about your boundaries, that's important. So yeah, it's again like just finding out what works. But yeah, coaching for time off is not a viable career.
Yeah, for sure. You're working pretty much all the time.
I can see that being a burnout point in the future for sure. Like I think I do need to take some time off soon, but it won't be until we finish nationals next year for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we got a team to focus on.
Got a few people to lock in for that.
Yeah.
Is that how you normally combat burnout? By just going away, or like you've been lifting for like what 9 years now?
Yeah, I think in the interim, little things that I do, so like you mentioned, like going camping or going to like Australian festivals, camping festivals, like just having my phone shut off, and I don't have to be like so business heavy. Like even when I go to festivals here, like went to Knockout on the weekend, all my clients are around me. I still have to present an image and present professionally. I'm not like, again, went to this festival for 3 hours. I drove home, like, you know, nothing crazy is going on. Yeah. But it's draining to always have to like, you know, act the part and like take responsibility on even around people. Mm-hmm. So I think it's nice for me to just go with a different group of people, be who I am and not have to worry about anything. I think for me, that's the most important thing for avoiding burnout. And it's not like clients ever ask me to be anyone but myself. But it's a standard that I hold myself to. I always want to be professional. I always want to be like, you know, the best person I can be business-wise. And I always want to treat myself bigger than I am. And again, clients have never asked me to be a different person, but it's just who I am in my brain. So for me, it was understanding that I just need to switch off from all that. So whether it's, you know, a weekend away or, you know, going on a trip, it's...
How about from a training point of view? Like you're prepping for SBD Cup soon.
Yeah.
Like it's just another big meet. So it's probably on the same caliber, I guess, as nationals or those like...
Well, it's way harder than nationals. Like, this one in particular is way harder than nationals. I'm not burnt out just yet because I'm really motivated for something new. So like the whole scoring system I'm motivated for, and also just the fact that I haven't had a good run of comp since last year in April. Yeah. So I'm motivated to hit a total that I know I can do. So for me, the motivation has outweighed the burnout. I think afterwards, I'm just going to chill out a bit. Like I've got a few things feeling a little bit tight right now, not great, but I'll chill out for a bit afterwards. I'm not going to go straight back into Nats prep. Like I think I'll take a block of just like really just chilling out. Yeah. But I mean, Kelly's great. Like for me, I think a lot of avoiding burnout in the training side rather than the business side has been because Kelly really knows when to tell me to shut up and like when to pull back on things. And that's what I told her when we shifted from Tom to Kelly. There was a few coaches weighing up options, and I said to Kelly, I was like, the problem with maybe going to another coach that they suggested was that I don't need the devil in my ear. Like I have too much in my head right now for someone to tell me to push harder. Like the last thing you will need to tell me as a coach, and I promise you, is to push harder.
Yeah.
And I don't think Kelly's ever asked me to work harder.
Yeah.
Even when I complain, I said like, I'll complain, I'll you know, swear, I'll say whatever, but you're never going to tell me to not train as hard, like, or not train hard.
Yeah.
Like I will always do it. And I think that was really eye-opening for her, because I think she had a lot of people like who, you know, said they wanted to be the best, but then never really pushed.
Put the work in for it.
Yeah. And I said to her, I was like, if you ever have to tell me to work hard, like I promise you it's not who I am. And so to this day, she's always been like, let's just kick back, let's just settle down. She's the one that like really
she
like
actually holds you back quite a bit.
Yeah, so I think that was a really big like understanding thing at the start, that Kelly was just like, yep, I can do that. I said to her, as long as you can do that for me, this will work out fine. And it has.
Yeah, and so far your relationship with Kelly, like putting up that 530 total
530
last year, that was really impressive.
Yeah, that honestly, like, you know, maybe if I didn't go on holidays, like we could be closer to 6 right now, but I wouldn't take it back, because at that point I was just kind of like, man, I achieved so much in that time, and it meant a lot to me that I got stronger than I was, because I used to always say like, I used to be strong, and I could finally say like, I am strong.
You're stronger now.
Yeah, I'm stronger, but yeah, no, I had to go away. I had to just like, you know, enjoy a bit of my life as well, especially after COVID with 2 years at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that whole burnout thing in terms of training, I've never really felt like training's been the only thing burning me out, which, you know, is full credit to Kelly for always like steering the ship.
That's really good. And yeah, speaking of an SBD Cup, like what are your goals, or like what are some of the things
we've been hiding training.
You've been hiding training?
We've been hiding training. Yeah.
Nice and spicy.
Yeah. I honestly, like, I think if I put away the individual goals and nothing that I'm going to share, but like for me, it's just to keep focusing on myself. This whole prep, I've only focused on myself, and that has been really nice. Like, I most of the time I'm like, you know, checking even on other lifters, like I'm just checking on what they're doing. And I think with SBD Cup, it would be really enticing to check on other lifters, like the other girls, obviously for the overall, that's like, you know, where they're at. For me, I'm just literally in my own lane. I'm chilling. I'm off socials more. My phone usage is down per day, which is awesome. I'm just focusing on me, because yeah, my nationals prep was shit, because last minute I decided to focus on other people and it didn't work. Yeah.
And I think for SBD Cup as well, I don't think it really benefits you for trying to look at other people.
Yeah,
too much, because like
you can only do what you can.
Yeah, you just gotta see how it plays out on the day.
Yeah, like we have strategies, like we've spoken about it.
We've spoken about a few strategies, but
for me, like I'm just focusing on myself. Like the biggest thing for me was just making sure that I had so many external stresses covered. So like my clients have been really good with respecting my boundaries. I'm making sure that my training time, which is like 2 to 4:30, they're not messaging me, and they've been so good with that, honestly. A couple of strays, a couple of a couple of stray messages.
You get a few of those sometimes, but
you know, we get those on the big jobs. But yeah, I don't mind that. So clients have been really good. I've been managing that, and then also like body weight's been really good too. Obviously with the help of the ebook, the cutting book.
Buy my ebook, Peak Performance Cutting.
It's officially 1 year old. Happy birthday!
Happy birthday to my book. It came out last footy finals, so buy it. We might chuck up a discount code after.
We can do a podcast sale.
Oh yeah, we can do a podcast sale.
Yeah,
I don't know what the sale.
Use code podcast.
Use code podcast.
You have to watch the podcast to get the sale code.
Yeah, if you know, you know. Like if you made it this far, you deserve to get a discount. You know what I'm saying?
You can tell I'm the boss.
Yeah.
Who's making up these ideas?
Yeah. Where are these ideas spawned from?
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think like for me, managing weight, like again, your book and your influence over the past few years has been a huge help with that. Even through all the health issues that I've had. But yeah, no, I'm feeling good. To be fair, like I'm feeling pretty in line with the April prep. Like I'm not beat up like I was for states last year and nationals. Nationals, I was just a bit more worn out than anything.
I also think you're a bit rushed. Like
it was just it was like
back into training.
Yeah, like you want to enjoy your New Year's and then you come back, train, and also it was back from the MCL injury that I had for states. So I didn't really have much time to prep.
Yeah, training during like that December period kind of sucks, eh?
Yeah, well, we're gonna do it again this year, so.
Yeah, but I think that's like if you can show up really well during the December, I think that's what really separates you from like being good and being great. Yeah, you know, if you can still continue to train hard during that time, but each to their own. Some people do need some time off during that time.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, I never force anyone to train through that, but all my nationals team, you will be training through it.
Yeah. And even myself in that 2022 prep, like there was I think New Year's Eve or Christmas Day, where I had to do a double session, like bench in the morning, and then come at 11 p.m. from Wollongong.
But there was times with that, like I remember we jumped on. We used to do like calls on our coaching, so we used to do like live face-to-face calls. And like we did, it was like early January, that squat session. You did the 240 at home by yourself. Yeah. It was like, I remember it was like January 7th or some shit.
Yeah.
So it's like you're doing like max PRs at home by yourself, no spotters, only me on a phone. Like could call the ambulance if something went wrong. Like
no one was home actually. So if I got stapled, it was kind of GG.
Yeah, it was just me calling the ambulance at that point.
Yeah.
They would probably get there quicker than I would.
Yeah, and I don't think you knew my Addy properly.
I kind of like muscle memory. I don't know addresses. I'm a visual person.
You would have to pull out the output like.
Yeah, get out the old invoices, dust them out. Yeah.
But those were good times, and if you can train, especially if you're going through nationals, I think training through December should be taken seriously.
Yeah. I'm like 50-50. Like if you've got a goal, work towards that goal. But if you don't, go have some time off.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's our philosophy. That's honestly like what we do, like at Output. It's just like find a way that works with someone's lifestyle, and I think that's why our clients like us.
It's definitely a dial where you have to like be able to just turn it up and turn it down.
Yeah, it's a trust thing. Like if we tell someone to, go to Knockout and enjoy themselves, we expect then that on Sunday you're going to eat lots of food, you're going to drink lots of water, and you're going to train on Monday.
100%.
That's what we expect.
Yeah, my main rule is like come to training correct on Monday, and we should have no issues.
Yeah, exactly. Like we know that, the training is not going to be peak afterwards for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
But like we just expect you to rock up, and if training feels like shit, I don't want to hear it. Like that's
a choice you live with.
Yeah. So for us, it's like we make it work. We'll pull back training. You train earlier in the week so you can go to Knockout and you don't have to train the next day or whatever it is. But we just find a way to make it work. But yeah, it's just a trust system that we know that once the time comes, you're going to meet us in the middle. We've done our job to prep you for that.
Yeah. And yeah, it just comes down to trust, building systems around it. And yeah, if we tell you to have fun, like go have fun, man.
Yeah.
And if I tell you to lock in, like just lock in.
Yeah. Raz having fun is a sight. Yeah. Raz at a rave is a sight.
Yeah, we'll save that for another time or another period. Now to close off this podcast, a new thing that we're gonna implement is I have a question written down where Beth will answer it. It's a question she hasn't seen before.
I'm nervous.
And then she's gonna, after she opens and reads the question, she's gonna answer the question, and then she's gonna write a question for the next guest, and I won't know that question. So here's for you to open.
All right.
Can you imagine it's just a blank piece of paper? It's like, oh.
There's some profanity on there. No, fuck you. Be like, we're never posting this.
Thank you, Beth, for coming on.
This is very...
All right, you have to read out the question.
Very chill. If you had to tell your younger self a message, what would it be? Honestly, I've always been someone who cares what other people think. And that is probably been expressed in my talk about burnout.
Yeah.
I very much care what other people think of me. And I think that's been to my own detriment forever. Like in school, I couldn't make friends because I just cared about what everyone else was doing instead of like what I was doing and what I felt was authentic to me. And that carried into, like, I guess not the gym. The gym's probably been my only place that I've been authentic. I play my own music and I was really confident in the gym, which is probably why I enjoy it. But like even in coaching, like I've cared a lot what other people think to the point where like I go against my beliefs or I change things. And I guess like the most like cheesy way is like stop caring what people think. I still have to remind myself of this daily, but especially my younger self, like I went through some shit and like in school, I just never really found like my people. I never really found like, proper connections with anyone. And I wish I just stopped caring what other people think because you find people later on in life. And as long as you are who you are and being myself in the gym helped me find people around me and helped me find friends and gave me confidence to like, meet my partner, Stefan, and all that sort of stuff. And so like if I just had stopped caring what other people think earlier, I think things would have been a bit easier, but yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful message. Stop caring what people think.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to give you the pen. You have to write out. Do you want a new piece of paper? Can I drip one of your mum's papers?
There should be some in the printer. Yeah. Take one at the back. We're in the office. Can you reach?
All right. Here's a blank piece of paper.
I know it's right.
You can write whatever you want. It could be a troll question, happy question, serious question. What's your...
Yeah, probably need something to...
What you have for breakfast? I don't know. I won't know this question. I won't find out until the next one. And personally, I don't even know who my next guest is.
Yeah, that's what makes it hard. Like, if I troll someone, you have to be very generalized to troll someone.
If you want to troll someone, you can troll them.
You're going to get like Josh Lawson talking about wooden spoons, fucking like just talking about the trials and tribulations of being a Tiger supporter for 20 years.
Maybe. Like,
I don't know what to write. Damn.
Yeah, I did ask you, like, hey, you can put any random question you want.
All right, I'm going to put something like a bit of a switch up. I think the first thing that came to mind that's a bit stupid, but it'll be entertaining.
Okay. Blah, blah, blah.
It's not really a question, I guess, but we'll see.
Your blind ranking was actually really good.
Yeah, no, we can talk about that after. I fucking nailed that. Honestly. My limited understanding of basketball, I
don't think it's even limited. I think you're more up to date than me at this point. You actually catch up to very frequent games.
I think also being around like you and Zach has forced me.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, it was like I had my two best mates like Rowie and Angus, and then you and Zach just talk about basketball on Wednesdays at the fucking gym. Like,
yeah,
you know, I've just been forced to like this sport.
It just kind of makes sense.
It's actually pretty fun to watch.
It is really fun to watch. I just can't deal with ads. Ever since you watch footy, there's no ads, and then when there's ads, it's like, bro, this is AIDS.
Yeah, and there's so many fucking timeouts. It's like 10 minutes left, an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter, 5 minutes left. Oh, yeah, that's a good 30 minutes of your time.
I have the question. I just don't know, like, the contents of it that I want to...
You can write whatever you want. It doesn't even have to make sense. It's just a message for the next podcast person.
Do you reckon it's going to be powerlifting specific?
Probably. Yeah, most likely, yeah.
I don't know. Because I don't know what to write.
Or just fuck around.
Yeah. Look, I am kind of fucking around with this.
Just write the big fuck around question.
Yeah.
Like, it could be like, what's... If you could be someone for a day, who would you be? Or who's the biggest pest at the gym?
Right, I want to Google.
That would be extremely controversial.
Yeah, who's the biggest pest? And they'd say you.
Oh.
Who's this guy running up and down?
Who's this guy doing jumping jacks before he benches?
Yeah, true. The fucking...
Swimming. You know where I get that from? I got that from Chris Aslan.
Really?
Yeah, because you know how before he deadlifts, he does the opposite. Where he winds his arms back.
Yeah.
I like to wind my arms
forward. Like he does the... Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just found it funny and cool. So... But it actually helps. Because I kind of just relax. So shout out to Chris Aslan.
Shout out to Alpha.
Yeah.
Damn, I don't know what to write for the context of this. I'm just going to do something like... Okay. Yeah, I got it. It's basic, but I think anyone will be able to answer it.
Yeah, I actually don't know who my next guest is. So.
I wanted to make it like not specific. You can hold your gypped pen.
Thank you. My nice gypped pen.
Actually, I'll fold it the other way.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, that should suffice. My handwriting looks like a fucking 12-year-old because online coaches type, they don't write.
Honestly, when I wrote that, my question was...
You were like, whoa.
Damn, so this is what a pen feels like?
Yeah.
I'm really used to writing 3 numbers.
My signature. My hands are actually been cramping because when I'm in prep, I play Pokemon. My hands are cramping.
What Pokemon are you playing right now?
I'm on my RG35XX. I'm doing a fire red leaf green Nuzlocke, hardcore Nuzlocke.
I think Rod.
Yep, that's my guilty trait.
Okay, now Beth has written the question for the next guest. Now to wrap up, thank you, Beth, for coming onto the podcast. Where can people find you?
Just on Instagram, Beth Parks. That's my lifting one and my personal one. And then obviously Beth_output, where you can find all my coaching and all my big brain stuff. And
you're going to be, 4 weeks out from SPD Cup?
Mate, I'm 2.5 weeks.
Two and a half weeks?
Yeah, we're 2.5 weeks out. So next week, big peak week, and then dropping off.
And then straight into it, eh?
Yep, straight into the big comp. This will be good. I'm excited.
Very exciting. But yeah, that's episode 4. Please leave a like, subscribe, follow us on Spotify, because we are on Spotify now.
Nice.
And Apple Podcasts.
And on YouTube.
And on YouTube. And this is the outro song. Thank you, Beth.